So the first thing I want to say is last week when I got back from India, I shared a practice basically from the teachers that I was able to take practices with in India. So I gave you a little taste of that. And I shared stories about the Mother Ganga, the great holy river, what we call the Ganges. And I think I mentioned us meditating in the caves and how that felt. This week, I'm still inspired from India. I want to say up front, Harriet came in and she was like, hey, you haven't talked about Diwali. And Diwali is their festival of lights. It's a big holiday for them. It's kind of like a New Year's celebration because they do sand art and they bring candles into their home and they have lights strung and fireworks, thank you. And they bring out sweets. So they're passing out sweets. But anyway, I told Harriet I am planning on doing, I like to do these mini retreats around town and out in the countryside, but it's winter time and weather's kind of unpredictable right now. And I'm wanting to turn my December workshop that I usually do restorative yoga and aromatherapy. I usually use frankincense and myrrh and peppermint oil for that practice. This year I want to change it up and extend it out and make it kind of like a little mini retreat at the studio. So I'm still trying to get the date down with Jen. I'm thinking it's going to be the 17th, but I'm going to have a lighted labyrinth. I'm going to have the sand art. We'll be meditating on a candle flame. We'll be doing some mantra meditation, some restorative yoga with that aromatherapy. So basically, I want to bring a little bit of that Diwali to you for this little mini retreat. So I think it's going to be the 17th. Just wait and see what we confirm. So if you're interested in that, you can join. But this week, what I wanted to kind of inspire us by, not realizing until after I made this lesson plan that today is actually a full moon. And full moon, we can feel a little crazed. Or we can see that type of behavior around us. And so I think this is a really good topic for today. And it's about maintaining a sound mind and body and basically promoting some good mental health for ourselves. Last week, I had a little difficulty coming back into the States, coming back into my regular routine, coming back into my home. And it wasn't because I didn't want to be home. It was because I felt like I had just left home. India felt like home to me after I'd been there for a while. And so coming back, I had culture shock. Everything was so clean. And there weren't cows walking down the streets and there weren't dogs everywhere. And things weren't as intentional and materialism is really in your face here, unlike there. And I just had a hard time reacclimating back to this culture. And I got depressed. I mean, I really got depressed for a couple of days and cried. But I'm free of that now. I'm happy to be in a clean environment and being able to drive my car and have gratitude for being here with you guys. But the inspiration is coming from India. And I'm going to tell the story and then we'll move into our practice. So every morning and every evening at the Ganges River, they have a beautiful ceremony that they call Aarti. And it's usually sunrise and sunset. And there's different points along the river at different locations in the city that you can go to for the ceremony. Now, when we went, it was during Diwali, so there was a lot of people coming to Rishikesh for a pilgrimage on top of coming for the holiday. And the first Aarti we went to was very organized. It was one of the main ones. And so everything was organized. It was very specific on you can sit here, you can sit here, you can sit here, you can stand here. The musicians are behind us. They would start to play the tabla drums and the harmonium and get mantra chants going. People would sing and dance until the ceremony started. And then they piped back up with music after the ceremony. But the priest would stand at the river and they would do different things. They would circle the incense and the fire certain directions. They would move clockwise. it was almost like they were honoring the elements and the cardinal directions is the way I was perceiving it. And then you could have an offering, which was basically these giant leaves that were creating like a bowl. And it had all the flowers, and it was red roses and marigold flowers in the mix. And then there was a stick of incense that you could light and a little candle. And then you could make your offering. So making your offering, you could ask for forgiveness for something. You could ask like a wish that you were wanting to fulfill, you know, basically however you wanted to create the offering. But it was so beautiful in the evening specifically because once you lit the candle and the sun had set, then you saw all the offerings and the candles moving downstream the river. It was absolutely beautiful. But at the second Aarti we went to, it was a little less organized. And we were standing, half of us anyway, were standing at the balcony kind of overlooking. And then half of the group went down below to where the bigger crowd was. And the few of us that were at the balcony, we had like the perfect seats because we were, you know, right there at the gate. And at some point when the ceremony started, it started getting more and more crowded. And this one woman was trying to shove her way in between me and this other person. And I looked down at her, and she's an older woman, and, you know, she wasn't trying to communicate with me or anything, but I just thought, she's Indian. She probably made a pilgrimage to be here. Like, let her in. She needs to see, you know? So I let her in, and I kind of pat her back, and we share a smile. And the next thing I know, there's 4 other family members coming up trying to shove their way in. And I was getting pushed and pushed into the gentleman beside me, who's also Indian. And he said, hey, you let one in, you give permission for all of them to come in. Don't let anybody else in. I'm like, got you. Thank you. Okay, got it. And so it got to the point where they were pushing and being so aggressive that I was like, I'm out. I can't breathe this way. So I bumped out of there. And eventually the few other people in our group, they got bumped out too. And we were just like, we're not going to deal with this. So that leads into the next day. The next day we decided to go to this temple dedicated to Shiva. And the Shiva is very much considered a holy site. And it's based off one of the mythological stories I've shared before about the churning of the ocean of milk, where the gods and the demons are working together to get the elixir. The demons really want it because it's the drink of immortality, and the gods do not want the demons to have it, but they have to work with the demons to get it, to trick them so that they can have it. And meanwhile, while they're churning the ocean of milk, Lakshmi, the beautiful goddess of prosperity, comes up out of the water. Nandi, the wishing cow, comes up out of the water. And before the elixir, the fountain of youth or drink of immortality comes up, the poison comes up. And Shiva realizes if the poison gets out, humanity is going to perish. So to save humanity, he grabs the poison, he chooses to drink the poison, it turns his throat blue. Now, this particular temple we went to was dedicated to that story. So the story goes, this is where he drank the poison and then had to rest and recover from that. And so this is really important to people of the Hindu and Jain faith. So while we're doing all these switchbacks, taking our Dramamine because you need it, going up those hills, we finally get to where the temple is, but we can't see the temple because there's lines of cars and droves of people. And all the other temples we had been to weren't crowded at all. We basically, you know, there'd be a few people scattered in with our group, but it wasn't crowded. There was no line for it. But this temple was different. It's considered a really holy site. And so I knew that our group would be distracted from the side markets going up to the temple. So I told everybody, hey, we're not shopping here. Stay tunnel vision. We're not shopping at the temple. We're going to the temple and we're coming out, you know. So we did. We just walked, followed our guide to the temple, took off our shoes, got an offering that we wanted to make. We're standing in line, and the line is crowded. And in that culture, they're lovely people, but it's just, they're aggressive, right? It's kind of like being at your favorite rock show that has general admission, and you're really wanting to be closer to see the musicians, or you're really wanting to be close to the stage, and you're having to meander your way through. Although in the States, people are pretty polite about it, right? There, you just push your way. So that started happening in the line, and we knew we had an hour wait. And someone in the back of the line yelled, "Robbie, I let a child through, and now all these people are trying to get through." And I turned around, I said, "Hold the line. Remember what we learned yesterday. If you let one in, they all think they can come in, right?" And so we had one token male with us, and he's at the back, and he's like taking up space, right? And he's blocking people. And then, you know, the ladies in the mix, you know, we're all lining up, and we're like, nope, we're in line, we're holding the line, you know. Well, what happened soon after that was a little upsetting, because we heard this blood curdling scream. And everybody in front of us, with us, behind us, turned to look at what is happening, because this is an emotional place. Like, even walking to the temple, you could see people crying because they're so happy and overwhelmed to be there. But this person is screaming. Now, let me preference this by saying, in India, the women are gorgeous. Their skin is perfect. Their hair is perfect. Whether they're wearing makeup or not, they're gorgeous. Whether they're bejeweled or not, they're wearing these beautiful, colorful saris. And they're kind of mesmerizing, actually, to just sit and watch. But this woman who was screaming, her hair was disheveled, hanging kind of matted in her face, and her clothes aren't, you know, very well together. And she's being carried by, I'm assuming, family members, and she's screaming. It's like she's in so much pain, emotional pain. It felt like the root was trauma when I was seeing it and hearing it. Anyway, she was mentally disturbed. And the entire line parted like the Red Sea. And this woman and her family just come barreling through. Everybody parts. And after we come back together, I thought, okay, it's starting to get a little claustrophobic in this line, and that was pretty gnarly. I'm going to make a lighthearted joke. And I turned around to the group, and I was like, well, that's one way to get to the front of the line. And everybody laughed, but one woman started to cry. And she started just bawling. And I was like, are you okay? And she said, no, that felt really dark. And I said, it did. It really did feel dark. And there were a few of us that knew Reiki, and a couple other people started Reikiing the person that was with us. And then me and another person decided to start Reikiing the person who was screaming. So even though we couldn't see her anymore, we couldn't hear anymore, Reiki can work at a distance just as much as it can one-on-one. And so I'm sitting Reiki on, and the lady that was upset got in front of me. And as I was standing behind her, something inside of me said, start singing Om Namah Shivaya. So I just started chanting Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And it's this particular chant that I know. And I just kept singing it and singing it and singing it for 10 or 12 minutes. And then eventually the woman turns around, who's in our group, and her gentle spirit is back. She's smiling. And I'm like, okay, you're back. And I was like, I don't know why I was called to sing, but I just felt like I needed to sing. And it was an appropriate chant because we're at the Shiva temple. And she said, thank you, I needed that. I feel much more at peace again. So the thing about mantra meditation or mantra chanting, when you're repeating it over and over and over again, it gives it power. It gives it more potency. And then on top of that, we were in this place dedicated to Shiva. Now I want to tell you what that means or what it can be good for. That's the first Sanskrit mantra I ever learned in teacher training. And in teacher training, they would say, think about how Shiva is the Lord of the dance and he carries the drum. So that chant, Om Namah Shivaya, is about stomping out and getting rid and overriding toxicity and getting rid of negative energy, overriding the veil of illusion of how we perceive reality to be, and basically drowning out any ignorance. So you're coming back into a true state. That mantra being chanted is also a great one for inducing some inner peace, because it helps to free up your headspace when you're just focused on that over and over again. It also is said to help to control the senses. So that mantra panned out to be perfect in that moment. But that mantra is a great way to help to fight mental and emotional storms. And that's the reason why I'm bringing it up today. So there are many different things that can lead to mental disturbances and mental illness. Yes, it can be hereditary. But did you know that when we meditate on a regular basis, we can actually turn off the genes that would take us there and turn on the positive chromosomes that will activate other things? It's possible to do that. Scientifically, it's been proven. Another thing that can lead towards, mental disease is toxicity in the environment, whether it's the foods that we're eating or even brand new carpet has tons of chemicals in it. So there's lots of things in our environment that are holding these chemicals that are toxic to the body that we may not even recognize. So that's important to know. But the other piece is trauma from our past. And that's what I felt like had happened to this poor woman. I felt like it was trauma related. All of us have trauma. All of us. None of us are immune from it. But what makes us different is we either have people that support us, or we have skills to get through it, or we're using tools like yoga and breath work and meditation as a way to come back to that sound mind, sound body. And I think this is an important topic today because I keep hearing that December and January are going to get really wild. We'll see what happens. Not always 100%. But as the world gets crazier, it's up to us as individuals to hold the line. We have to hold the line. We have to keep our feet firmly planted on the ground. We have to remember, as darkness gets revealed, we can still be the light. We can be that pillar of light. And look at how many people are in this room, and we're all going different directions after this class. No matter where we land, whether it's a restaurant or a church or a school or back at your home or pickleball or whatever you do on the side, that's you. You're holding the line. You're holding the light. And then we can be supportive for other people. So let's get into the practice. Let's sit up on our bolster and inch towards the edge of it. And let the hands rest on the lap. And let the eyelids close. As soon as you close your eyes, start to be real with yourself. What are you bringing to the mat with you today? It's okay if you're feeling a little down and out, because this practice can create some inner alchemy. So please meet and greet yourself wherever you are, without any shame, without any guilt, without any judgment. And once you assess yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, start your breath work. The key component to this practice is the breath. So activate your pranayama, your breath control, lengthening and strengthening your inhale and exhale. Follow your next couple exhalations down your spine towards your tailbone. Notice how that can get you more grounded or heavier in your seat. Even feel the contact of the mat under your feet. And on your next inhalations, go ahead and try to uplift more through your navel, through your heart center, through the crown of your head, aligning and perfecting your posture. Lining the spine can even improve the quality of the breath. Notice the difference. And then slowly begin to open up your eyes. And we're going to lift off the bolster. And we're going to have that bolster close by, but we're going to stand back against the wall. Now, you don't have to have your heels touching the baseboard, but close to. And that's because we want the flesh of the buttocks to be against the wall. And we want to lift up through the shoulders and roll the shoulders down and back so that you feel the shoulder blades touching the wall. So buttocks, shoulder blades to the wall. Your head may or may not be touching. Mine's not yet. So if your head's not touching the wall, draw your chin in towards your throat until you feel the back of your head touch. Now spin your palms to face the wall. And if it doesn't strain your arms, take your hands to the wall. On your next in-breath, root your feet down, lift your kneecaps up, and then start to float your arms up overhead. Now, you may or may not be able to get the back of the hands to the wall, but let's just see if there's that possibility. Again, if it creates pain or strain, leave it out, okay? It's not worth it. We don't want to injure ourselves. Notice if your elbows are starting to bow or bend, and if you can, straighten them out, fly open through the fingertips, and then see, can the back of the hand still touch? Again, please don't force, just see what's possible. Okay, so this is interesting. Martha, lift your left arm up a little higher. Donna, your left arm up a little higher. How about for me? Is one higher or lower than the other? A little bit. My left needs to go up. Isn't that interesting? I only saw two of you, but I felt like I was probably the same way. Good. On your exhale, gently lower the arms down. It's different doing it against a wall, isn't it? Versus solo. All right, because the wall isn't going to lie about the alignment. So now let's turn the left hand pinky side against the wall. We won't be mirroring each other. And then inhale, only lift your left arm skyward. See if your thumb can perhaps touch the wall. And then glue the other four fingers together. Good. Now push down through your left heel and elongate through your left side body. Good. As you exhale, turn your right hand to face you and then start to lean over to the right side. So you were right before. Yeah, we're just not mirroring each other. So sorry if that's probably throwing you off. Now again, notice, does that arm want to bend or bow? Can you straighten out through the left arm and fingertips? Doesn't this feel more challenging than when we do it solo at the front side of the mat? And it's because we're trying to maintain the alignment that we created at the start.
But please know, this is what we're also trying to do when we're away from the wall, which is why teachers often say, imagine you're in between two panes of glass. All right, inhale, draw yourself back up. Good, exhale, lower the arm. Good, inhale, bring the right arm up. Maybe the thumb touches the wall, maybe it doesn't, and that's okay. Push down through your right foot, lift up through your right hand, exhale, lean to the left. And then notice what wants to come away from the wall. Is it one or another shoulder? Is it your hands? Is it your head? And then can you optimally and openly breathe now that we've structured ourselves in a little different way? And affirm internally, I am of sound mind and body. Inhale, gently come up. Good, exhale, let's lower that arm down. Okay, I was telling Harriet yesterday I did a practice with the chair at the wall, but we didn't have enough chairs today. So we're gonna take the fingertips to the hip crease. This is where if we had a chair, we would use the chair. But go ahead and start to hinge forward. And if you feel like you're about to really tip out of balance, then walk your feet a little bit more ahead. But continue to the point where you can lower the arms. And if you wanted to bring in the bolster to prop up underneath your brow, you could be here. If you wanted blocks under your hands, you could be here. So there's options. You could also stack the blocks to lower your hairline too. So feel free to add in support. And this form of Uttanasana. We're just gonna open up the back side of the legs because the legs are what tie us in and tether us often to our past. So if we don't want the past to control us, we have to heal and move beyond and not project that into the present or future. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Take slow, deep breaths. Affirming nothing and no one on this earth can hold me down or back. I am of sound, mind, body. On your next inhalation, slowly lift the head up. You can step the feet slightly forward, bend the knees, come all the way up. Good. Once you come up, you're going to turn your right side body so that it's facing the wall, but you're not leaning into the wall. The only thing that's going to touch the wall is your right arm as you slide it up the wall behind your back. Your palm is facing the surface. And look down at your feet, line them up side by side. Stack your leg bones, lift your heart. Look straight ahead. And we're just opening up this connective tissue. It's a great way to stretch out the pectoral muscles of the chest. Soften your face, your mouth, your jaw. And let's slide that hand down. Bring that arm now up towards the ceiling, palm again facing that surface. Now you are going to scoot your body closer to the wall. You are going to lean your right hip to the wall, and you're going to elevate the right knee. So try not to lift the knee especially high, at hip level or lower is fine. Now bring your left arm in front of you, again, palm touching the wall. Let your right calf and foot connect to the wall. That'll help you to stay balanced. Now start to casually look towards the wall yourself, sliding the right hand back behind you as it was before, but now taking the left arm up where the right arm once was. So you can turn to face the wall or you can turn to face your back hand. Now holding and maintaining a twist. So on my almost 12-hour flight from Japan to Chicago, you know, there was a point where I was like, okay, I'm fine sitting here, but I've been sitting this entire flight. So I got up, moved to the back of the plane, and I just started doing some yoga. And this is one that I do on the plane near the back galley. Inhale, lift the right arm up. Exhale, slowly come out of the twist and lower the right foot. As long as the seatbelt sign is off and there's no service going on, flight attendants.
I want to ask you, why are you hugging that thing?
The galley? Yeah. It's clean enough. Left side facing the wall. Look down at your feet. Go ahead and make sure they're lined up. And then slide your left arm up behind your back. Standing upward, chin parallel to the floor, looking straight ahead. And do some cross comparison, noticing the two sides difference that you may have felt. Where you were more tightly woven. Breathe openly and freely. If you're ever doing physically something that's taking your breath away, you may be focused too much on the physicality, so do less so you can breathe better. Otherwise, it will agitate the mind and body, and we want to calm those disturbances. All right, let's slide the left hand down. Bring it forward and up towards the ceiling, facing the wall. Scoot your body now close to the wall. So the left hip touches. And as the left knee lifts, you're leaning against it. And now right arm's in front of your chest. And then we'll take the right hand up to what would be 12 on the clock. And send the left hand back towards 9 on the clock. Now inhale, relift the left arm, slide both arms back in front of you, and you can lower the left foot. All right, we're gonna spin around to face the wall and do what's called a wall push. Basically, you're lining up your ankles under your sit bones, your hands shoulder distance apart. As you stretch back away from the wall, your head collapses in between. So when I say collapse, I don't mean all the way down. So let your ears be in line with your upper arm bones. You're looking straight down below the face. As you inhale, start to lift your head and your chest and elevate your heels off the mat. Lift your ears up and away from your shoulders. Keep your quads contracted. Exhale, do a little chaturanga, bending your elbows like you're doing a push-up against the wall. Good. Inhale, straighten your arms. Exhale, push back through your seat, back through your thighs. out through your arms, like you're returning to down dog. Good, and then inhale, start to lift your head and your chest, elevate your heels away from the mat like you're doing plank pose. Exhale, bend the elbows, do that chaturanga. Good, inhale, straighten your arms. Exhale, push back. All right, one more of those. Little vinyasa against the wall, lifting your head and your heart, elevating your heels. Exhale, bend the elbows. Come forward to the wall. Good, inhale, stretch back. And lengthen through the spine. Look down below the face. Okay, walk your feet in a minute. Come up and face me. In case you don't know this pose, we don't do it very often. I always do it in the month of October because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This is called Pink Dog. So against the wall, we're doing the wall push. But what creates the ribbon is we step the foot across and then spin the heel down. And then we push back away from the wall again. So if the right foot's going behind us, we're coming to the right fingertips and we're gonna look up underneath that right arm. And then we'll move it to the other side, okay? Now that you've got that visual, let's go into the wall push again. Arms stretching, spine stretching, legs stacked. Good. Let's take the right foot, cross it to the other side of your left ankle, spin the toes to face that foot, and then heel down to the floor. Good. Push away from the wall with your hands. Now lift your right palm, come to the finger pads, and maybe look up underneath the right arm. You got it. That's beautiful. That's Pink Dog. It actually made the yoga journal years ago. And there was a teacher from Nashville who invented this pose. Good, let's go ahead and flatten the right hand as you uncross the ankles, come back to the wall push, and then we're gonna take Pink Dog to the other side. So the left foot's gonna cross behind the right. You turn the toes to face the ankle, lower that left heel, stretch back through your arms, pick up your left palm, rest on the finger pads, drop your head, and look up underneath that left arm. Good. This is a much easier version of the pose. You can also do it hands on the chair or from regular down dog, which is a little bit more challenging. Good. Uncross. Flatten your left hand, wall push. And now look forward towards the wall and step your right foot so the big toe kind of meets the baseboard. Lunge the right knee. Notice if you're leaning your torso towards the wall, back up your head and heart. So your head, good, is lined over your shoulders lined up over your hips. Now keep your right hand to help you to balance. Lift your left arm skyward and then see if you can gently arch back. Good, exhale, bring the left hand to the wall, step back into your wall push. Step forward with your left foot, elevate your right heel, lunge that front knee, stack head over shoulder, shoulders over hips. Using the wall to help with balance and crescent lunge today. Inhale, lift your right arm. Maybe arch it back. Good. Exhale, bring the right hand down. Do that wall push again, stepping back with your left foot. And now slowly take your hands down, return to your Uttanasana, your standing forward fold. Let your head dangle. And notice the difference in how it feels. Bend your knees. Lift your hands to prayer position at your heart like you're doing chair pose. Facing the wall, feet glued to the floor. Strengthening the legs, strengthening the ankles. And then inhale, slowly straighten back up. Beautiful. All right, when you come, well, we're gonna kind of number ourselves off. So you're gonna start 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, you start, Harriet. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. 2. 1. I'm gonna be 1. Yeah. 1, 2. Okay, the ones. You're going against the wall with a block in your hands. Number 2s, you're stepping forward. Okay, so the 2s, you're going to be standing on your left foot and you're going to be striking tree pose, your version, your way. Okay, those forward and tree pose, standing on your left foot. Those of us at the wall, you're going to have your left foot on the sticky mat, parallel to the wall, a few inches from the wall, so step away from the wall a little bit, Harriet. So that when you bend your left knee, you're taking the block below your left hand, flying the right leg up behind you, leaning into the wall for support in your half moon. So the 2s are forward in tree, and the 1s are back in half moon. And when you're ready, those performing tree, you can step that foot down. Those in half moon, you can bend the left knee and kind of cartwheel it up. All right, 2, stay in the front. Stand on your opposite leg and open the other hip. Those of us back against the wall, the right foot is going to be parallel to the wall with some space in between, block in the right hand so that you can use support today for more of the restorative variation of half moon. And you're trying to roll the belly and the chest open to face the midpoint of the room. You're trying to lean your seat against the wall, your shoulder blades against the wall, your head against the wall. Good. Exhale. Those in tree, you can land your foot. Those in half moon, you can bend the front knee and cartwheel it down. Awesome. Now we get to swap. Now the 2s go to the wall with the block in hand, and the 1s come forward. So I meant to mention for the 1s in tree, you can always prop your foot onto a block if it's difficult to maintain balance with your foot to the calf or thigh. So you're going to start standing on your left leg and moving into Vrikshasana tree. And those of you on the back wall, yes, your left foot will be parallel on the sticky mat. Your left hand will launch forward with the block, and you'll lift the back leg and roll open against the wall. Those of you doing the video online, you can choose 1 or 2. Beautiful. Flex that foot that's on the wall. Good. Exhale. Let's lower from tree. Let's lower from half moon. And then we get to swap sides. Now you're turning your right foot to be parallel against the wall. Block underneath that right hand. And if you're doing tree, the block underneath the left foot or foot to the inner thigh or calf. Hands to heart or up above. Good. Let's release. Awesome. Everyone stand with attention with your hands together at prayer position at your heart. And affirming, I am calm. I am poised. I am at peace. I am sound, mind, and body. Relax your hands. Find a block. You're going to stand it up near the wall. You're going to separate your feet. And you're going to sit on the block, but also use back supports with the wall. Bring your thumbs and index fingers together for Gyan Mudra. I told you about the bathrooms in India. Yeah. I purposely got us a hotel with real toilets. Because I already knew how it would be. So even in the airport in India, not all of them, but in Rishikesh there was. It almost looks like a urinal in the ground. And you stand and you squat. And there's no toilet paper. There's a hose. But it's their version of a bidet. It's really fun. So if you ever go to India as a woman, the best thing to wear is long skirts or dresses, right? Because think about the women there often wear saris. Makes it easier. Not so much if you're in pants. So I'm talking about that because the squat is the right formation to be in for that purpose.
If you're in Guatemala, you pay $0.25 for a tissue square.
Really? Wow. All right. So we're going to lean into the left leg here. Yep. And just rest your left elbow. Let your right arm hang free. And again, we're not mirroring you, so just kind of do the opposite of what we're doing. And then you're going to sweep that right arm out and up. And just see if it's possible to lean the right arm against the wall. And you're opening up into a twist. So you're pushing into that left arm to send the left shoulder away from the wall as the right shoulder touches the wall. All right, exhale, bring the right arm down. Rest on that thigh. And sweep the left arm out and up. Again, the right shoulder's away from the wall. Left shoulder taps the wall. Good, and then exhale, bring it down. All right, we're gonna bring this block with this. And we're gonna come down to a tabletop position. From this tabletop position, we're gonna first take the arms out in front. Lower the head in between, so you're in puppy pose. In puppy pose, your belly is sucking in. And you're not dragging into the shoulders. There's structure here. There's muscular activity here. And if you need to stay here, that's fine. But take a deep breath in. And if your shoulders can handle this maneuver, melt down towards your chest and chin, Anahatasana, melting heart. If that's too much to come to the chin, you can rest on your brow. We're going to take 3 deep breaths. Om 1. Om 2. Om 3. Slide your hands back. Take a hold of this block. Bring it in between your ankles. And then see if you can sit. So in every
class we did in India, we would sit on the heels.
So,
There weren't blocks. And that's hard for people to do, especially with knee trouble or returning from knee surgery. So please don't force it. Come up higher if you need to, sit on 2 blocks if you need to. But if you look at other cultures and you notice the aging process of the elderly, in places where they have to climb a lot of stairs every day, they have healthier knees and backs. And in cultures where they sit like this a lot, they have healthier knees and backs. So I know I don't do this a lot in gentle because I try to avoid this in gentle, but it really is something we should be doing in gentle. So I'm not going to do it all the time, but this is a good practice. And maybe it's not your knees, maybe it's your ankles, the fronts of your feet that give you grief here. And maybe that's what you need to work out. So the teachers, I had never heard or researched this because it's not a pose I do very often. But the teachers in India were saying how good this is for digestion. And they were suggesting doing this pose after eating. It's like, oh, interesting. I had always heard the full lotus was good for digestion. And I know other poses like twist are good for digestion. But I take their word on it. This evidently is as well. And I think it may be due to so many meridians going to the feet. See, I'm talking to you, so you're not just sitting here going, can I get out? All right, we'll start to shift forward, away from the block. And I mentioned it was a full moon today. So you're going to scoot towards the corner of your mat, and you're going to lay down in a side fetal position so that as you roll to your mat, you can lift the legs up the wall. And you know how when we were lifting the arms up at the beginning part of class, I noticed a couple people, their arms were just slightly shorter than the other. The same thing can happen with our legs and feet. So get a good visual of your legs and your feet here, and maybe flex the feet. Sometimes it's maybe because one sit bone's closer to the wall than the other. And then after you flex and activate your feet, then relax them. Make sure the legs are parallel instead of leaning left or right. And then find a comfortable placement for your arms and hands. Maybe that's resting on the body. Maybe it's beside the body. And this is where I want us to remain. To relax, to replenish. This will be helpful if you had any sleep disturbances last night. But more importantly, it can be a calming agent for the mind. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. I am of sound mind and body.
Let's bring the feet down the wall. And then bring the feet together and separate the knees apart, like butterfly or bound angle. Take your hands to your knees and slowly start to draw them together. Feet can return, soles against the wall. Let's roll to the left side of the body. There's a lot more space for the liver. And push down through the right hand to come up. Sit against the wall for support. Now let's straighten out the legs. So you're in more of like a Dandasana staff pose. Bring your hands into the mudra for meditation. So for men, it's right hand over left. For ladies, left hand over right, thumbs touching. Notice how this mudra sits nicely in the lap this way. Let's commit to hold space for ourselves and each other and our loved ones as we maneuver through these difficult times. Let's bring our hands now to prayer position at the heart. Let's end chanting Om together. Let's breathe in first. Om. Shanti, shanti, shanti. We all walk away feeling more free and at peace in our bodies, hearts, and minds. So something that they did in India that I really liked, but we don't have to do this. I was going to leave it open for you guys, is everybody turning and just kind of namasteing around the room. I've done it in the past, but I never did it in the past because it reminded me of visiting churches that never knew anybody and they would have you stand up and say hello, and I hated those moments. It's so awkward. But here, I feel like it's a little nicer because it's more symbolic and you're not having to necessarily speak. It's just a little gesture. But if you like it, what does that say to you? The peace be with you. Peace be with you. The light in me sees the light in you. Like, yeah, it's sweeter than the church. Like pretty scared, so I had to yell and talk to everybody, and so as an adult, I purposely wanted to kind of just blend in with the crowd, and that wouldn't allow me to do it. I'm like I'm very like, why are you doing this? Yes. That's, we're not